Advertisement. The Doctor Who Wiki 109,032 pages. SIGNINREGISTER. Explore TARDIS Community TV Other media characters. TARDIS. Main aliases: TARDIS, TT Capsule. Timeship. Type: space-time vessels. Place of origin: Gallifrey. First appearance: an unearthly child. You may wish to consult TARDIS. Disambiguation: for other, similarly named pages. You may be looking for the Doctor's TARDIS. Contents: hide. 1 Nature. 1.1 Conceptual entities. 1.2 Organic machines. 1.3 Sentient machines. 2 History. 3 Name. 4 Flight. 5 Types. 6 Features and functions. 6.1 Dimensionally. Transcendental. 6.2 Chameleon circuit. 6.3 Regeneration. 6.4 Security features. 6.5 Computer interfaces. 7 Specific TARDISes. 7.1 The Doctor's TARDIS. 7.2 Possessed by other renegades. 7.2.1 The Master. 7.2.2 Other renegades. 7.3 Ashilde and Clara. Oswald's TARDIS. 7.4 Unique TARDISes. 7.5 Other types of TARDISes. 7.6 TARDISes without their owners. 8 copies of TARDIS. Technology. 9 Behind the scenes. 9.1 Is it TARDIS or TARDIS? 9.1.1 Different styles for different times. 9.1.2 In popular culture. 9.1.3 Use on this wiki. In TARDIS, time travel devices, Gallifreyan species. TARDIS. This article needs a big cleanup. Holy Team Both violations Batman. This page needs to reflect the pre-Time Lord retcons of the 1960s era, as many things, such as Gallifrey, hadn't been invented yet. These problems might be so great that the article's factual accuracy has been compromised. Talk about it here or check the revision history or manual of style for more information. A TARDIS, sometimes styled TARDIS, and variably also called a TT capsule, timeship or TARDIS unit, was the primary space-time vehicle used by the Time Lords of Gallifrey, allowing them to travel throughout the universe. Beyond their temporal capabilities, TARDISes were known for their dimensional transcendentalism, being bigger on the inside than on the outside, and their possession of a form of consciousness. These vessels could also be called greater time elementals. Prose, the god who came for Christmas. TARDIS was once referred to as time and relative dimensions in spacecraft. Prose, the phoenix in the TARDIS, plus nature. Conceptual entities. According to Castellan Casmus, a TARDIS was not simply a vehicle. It was a license to move, the very essence of transport. Born of the fiery thoughts of travel and movement. W.C. Death Comes to Time, plus, the Book of the War likewise described the timeships as vessels which were movement rather than making movement, explaining that they were elegant, mathematically Beautiful constructions, subtle, multifaceted space-time events. While the original prototypes had been physical ships made of conventional matter, it quickly became apparent to the early great houses that the ships were an irrelevance. The calculations themselves were the important part of the process. Pros: time ships, plus organic machines. TARDISes were incredibly complex machines. The nature of their construction was such that they were said to be grown rather than constructed. TV, the impossible planet, from seeds the Time Lords originally stole from the Archons. Pros: the nameless city, this could be done either from a seed. Pros: the nameless city, or a cutting. Audio, black and white, this was done at the time travel capsule growth foundry on ancient Gallifrey. Comic, the lost dimension, the old workshops where TARDISes could be born were located next to the Matrix. TV, Hellbent, plus, within the caldera, and were in fact the reason why the latter was typically referred to as a kind of womb. This was because the nonlinear processes by which the timeships were born could only take place in a null space where the normal laws of physics did not apply. Pros: the Book of the War, plus, because computers were unable to withstand the reality-changing stress, TARDISes required morphologically unstable living organic matter, or protoplasm, for their block transfer computations. The outer plasmic shell, interior configuration, and a host of other details were derived from this function, as well as possibly a TARDIS link with the Eye of Harmony. Pros: Cat's Cradle. Which mark? According to the Second Doctor, his TARDIS was a microbiologically sterile environment. TV, the Moon Base. Sentient machines. Due to the level of complexity in their construction, TARDISes had a degree of sentience, and they could even take independent action, as when the Doctor's TARDIS resurrected Grace Holloway and Chang Li. TV, Doctor Who. Some advanced TARDISes, such as Compassion, were fully sentient beings in their own right. Pros: the Shadows of Avalon, two near TARDISes could engage in a psychic conversation, audible by the bystanders. Comic, the World Shapers, TARDISes could also communicate feelings non-verbally. Audio, the Rise of the New Humans. TARDISes often mourned the death of their Time Lord pilots, even committing suicide by flying into a sun or hurling themselves into the time vortex. The Fifth Doctor claimed there was an elephant's graveyard of TARDISes somewhere at the end of time. Audio, Omega, the Axis of Insanity. And 7 more English. SIGNINTOEDIT. Advertisement. TARDIS Explore TARDIS Community TV. Other media characters. Fandom. Beta. Fan. Central. Games. Anime. Movies. TV. Video. Wikis. Starter. Wiki. 9.2. Translating the TARDIS. 10 external links. Since they were considered alive, a graveyard for TARDISes was provided in an undercroft beneath the capital on Gallifrey. Pros: engines of war. While the First Doctor didn't always appear fully aware of the consciousness of his machine, since the Doctor's TARDIS displayed some organic trace, he considered it to be alive. TV, the brink of disaster. He once commented that a TARDIS was more like a person. TV, the 5 Doctors. The 10th Doctor talked to and stroked parts of the TARDIS when he operated it. TV, school reunion. he spoke of mechanical difficulties as medical or biological. Conditions like indigestion, TV, Doctor Who, The Impossible Planet, and digesting. TV, The Runaway Bride. On one occasion, the Doctor's TARDIS manifested an avatar to help him fight a mental battle, taking on the forms and personas of the various companions who had ridden in it. However, this was when the Doctor was unconscious and battling within his own mind. Comic, The Forgotten. In a parallel world, the death of the 10th Doctor caused the TARDIS to slowly die. TV, Turn Left. In another alternative timeline, the 11th Doctor's death had the same effect on the TARDIS, though on this occasion the ship's dimension dams started breaking down, causing size leakage. The console was also replaced by an open wound into the Doctor's time stream. TV, The Name of the Doctor. When Amy told him she thought him mad for talking to a time machine, the 11th Doctor told her the TARDIS could, in fact, hear him. Prose, Night of the Humans. When Chang Li seemed to activate the Doctor's console upon leaning on a pillar and had the wooden doors to the cloister room open in front of him automatically, the Bruce Master explained that the TARDIS liked him. TV, Doctor Who. When the matrix of the Doctor's TARDIS was placed inside the body of Idris, it was shown that they were, in fact, sentient beings who did possess some degree of free will. The TARDIS said, in its human body, "All of my sisters are dead." She also told him that the navigation problems that had plagued him throughout his travels were due to her taking him where he needed to go rather than just where he wanted to go. TV, The Doctor's Wife. The 11th Doctor told Alice Oberfune that a bond existed between a TARDIS and the individual who piloted it. If the bond was broken and the TARDIS could no longer trust the individual flying it, a TARDIS was programmed to return to Gallifrey. If unable to return to Gallifrey, a TARDIS was then programmed to find the next nearest Time Lord. After the Doctor's TARDIS locked him out and left him in 2015 London, the Doctor believed his bond with the TARDIS was broken. He later found the TARDIS and was shocked when his mother stepped out in full Gallifreyan robes. Comic, The Comfort of the Good. History. Although a handful of accounts suggested that the Doctor's TARDIS was a unique invention of their personal design, prose, The Equations of Doctor Who, most sources agreed that TARDISes were common on Gallifrey. In one account, the Doctor's occasional remarks suggesting they had built their ship were empty boasts designed to impress his human companions. Prose, Twice Upon a Time. In John Smith's story The Old Man and the Police Box, the first TARDIS had been built out of a police box. When the Old Man eventually landed on the primitive Gallifrey, he guided the inhabitants in building more of the ships. Prose, Human Nature. According to one account of Time Lord history, Rassilon and Omega had made the first forays into TARDIS technology following their failure with Validium. Prose, A Brief History of Time Lords. Before he was lost in the antimatter universe, Omega created the Machine, a flawed prototype of TARDIS technology. Prose, Cold Fusion. After he and Rassilon had developed a theory that the power consumptions of a time vehicle could be cut down if its insides were bigger than its outside, Omega used the hand of Omega to try and create this power source, only to wind up trapped in the antimatter universe as Rassilon claimed the Eye of Harmony to fuel these vehicles. Prose, A Brief History of Time Lords. The construction of new timeships was so complex, involving the participation of the future timeship itself, they could only happen in zones where the normal laws of time were suspended. Thus, a special null zone connected to the caldera was constructed. Its machinery also allowed information to be drawn from across time and space. And it came to be referred to as a kind of womb, prose, the book of the war, the matrix. The old workshops where TARDISes were constructed were directly connected to the matrix's cloisters. TV, hell-bent. Following the loss of Omega, Rassilon began mass-producing prototypes of the Type 1 TARDIS. When the 11th Doctor found himself trapped in Gallifrey's past, he calmed down a scared Type 1. Witnessing the act, Rassilon pressed the Doctor into helping him develop the TARDISes, mining his future knowledge. Though the Doctor and the Type 1 managed to leave ancient Gallifrey, Rassilon's prototypes proved successful. Comic, The Lost Dimension. These prototypes eventually resulted in a prototype TARDIS making the first successful time flight on Hen Len. The Sirens of Time attempted to sabotage the occasion, managing to kill the historically recorded crew, only for several incarnations of the Doctor to take their place and ensure the timeline. Audio, Collision Course. 12 war TARDISes were subsequently created to use against the Great Vampires. Prose, Doctor Who and the Krykitman. Following the dissolution of the Gallifreyan Empire, the Time Lords used the TARDISes to explore the universe. Prose, A Brief History of Time Lords, the Suntarans. Made it a point to capture one, TV, the Suntaran stratagem, while the entity known as House began luring the ships to it, feasting on their Artran energy. TV, the Doctor's wife. Some species, such as the Warlords and their SIDITs, TV, the War Games, or the Daleks and their time machines, copied TARDIS technology. TV, The Chase, the Daleks' master plan. After Gallifrey had passed the non-interference policy, usage of the TARDISes became heavily restricted. Renegade Time Lords, those who sought to leave Gallifrey, all began their careers by stealing a craft from the government inventory. Prose, A Brief History of Time Lords, where the Quadrigers overhauled and dismantled the older models before they would be vaporized. Audio, The Beginning, The Destination Wars. Some of the older models, however, were simply put in long-term storage. Audio, Sphere of Influence, or delegated to the Undercroft beneath the capital to die. Prose, Engines of War. A fleet of newer models was kept ready for active duty. TV, The War Games, The Five Doctors. During the last Great Time War, the Dalek Empire became experts at fighting TARDISes. TV, Journey's End. By the fall of Gallifrey, the Battle TARDIS fleet had been destroyed. Comic, Skyjacks, and several older models had been shot down over Arcadia. TV, The Day of the Doctor. After the end of the Time War, the Doctor considered their TARDIS to be the last in existence. TV, The Doctor's Wife, following the destruction of Gallifrey. Prose, Doctor Who and the Time War. Comic, Sky Jacks. TV, The Doctor's Wife. Following the Time War, the 9th Doctor encountered a dying TARDIS in 1990s England. Audio, Auld Lang Syne. However, according to some accounts, though the War Doctor's successors, until late into the life of the 11th Doctor, were unable to remember it, Gallifrey actually survived the last day of the Time War, albeit lost in a parallel pocket universe. TV, The Day of the Doctor. When the 12th Doctor later found his way back to Gallifrey, the Doctor knew that the old workshops would hold TARDISes just as they had in the past. The Doctor stole one as part of his gambit to rescue Clara Oswald. TV, Hell Bent. The Battle TARDISes had also been rebuilt. Comic, Supremacy of the Cybermen. After taking on Hattie Munro as a companion, the 12th Doctor encountered a dying TARDIS whose leaking interior threatened to destroy the Earth. The Doctor managed to send the ship into the heart of a star so it could die peacefully. Comic, Playing House. Following the Spy Master's raising of Gallifrey and his plan to conquer the universe with his Cybermasters, the 13th Doctor made use of two active tardis to separately evacuate herself and her companions from the planet before the death particle was unleashed on Gallifrey. TV, The Timeless Children. Name. Susan claimed to have invented the acronym TARDIS from the phrase Time and Relative Dimension in Space, TV, an unearthly child, either on her first trip inside such a ship, audio, the beginning, or while she lived on 1963 Earth. Pros, time and relative. However, the first Doctor expressed familiarity with the term when Susan first said the word TARDIS aloud, audio, the beginning, and one source held that the term already existed on Gallifrey prior to the Doctor's departure. TV. The name of the Doctor. River Song remarked that Susan's name for the space-time vessels really caught on. Audio, An Unearthly Woman, a Time Lord author, referenced Susan's alleged creation of the term in his textbook of Gallifreyan history but could neither confirm nor deny the claim. Pros, A Brief History of Time Lords. TT Capsule was an early name for the TARDIS, used during the Rachnos Wars. Audio, Empire of the Rachnos. Many years later, some Time Lords like Castellan Spandrel preferred that more generic term when describing TARDIS, TV, the Deadly Assassin, with Romana I using the shorter term Capsule. TV, the Pirate Planet. Others, like the War Chief, TV, the War Games, Commander Maxil, Damon, Lord President Borissa, TV, Arc of Infinity, and Fabian, TV, the name of the Doctor, were perfectly familiar with the TARDIS acronym. As Bill Potts pointed out to the 12th Doctor, though, the acronym would likely only work in English. TV, the Pilot. Some beings on the fringes of Time Lord society, like the Sisterhood of Khan, also knew the acronym without being prompted by the Doctor or their companions. TV, the Brain of Morbius. Susan defined the acronym with both the singular dimension, TV, an unearthly child, and the plural dimensions. Audio, the beginning. Vicky used the plural dimensions when explaining the term to Stephen. TV, the Watcher. This interpretation held for a time, being used by Zoe Heriot, TV, the War Games, K9 Mark II, TV, the Creature from the Pit, and Adric, TV, 4 to Doomsday. Nevertheless, the singular dimension was preferred by the Doctor's 5th, TV, Frunchios, 8th, TV, Doctor Who, 9th, TV, Rose, 10th, TV, Smith and Jones, Fugitive, TV, Fugitive of the Judoon, and 12th Incarnations, TV, the Pilot, as well as the Doctor's TARDIS itself, when its matrix was transplanted into Idris, TV, the Doctor's wife, and Rose Tyler. TV, Turn Left. The 7th Doctor, however, used the plural dimensions to describe the TARDIS. TV, Delta and the Bannerman. The dedication plaque in the Doctor's TARDIS also referred to the ship as time and relative dimension in space, favoring the singular form. TV, Amy's Choice. The 12th Doctor once claimed to Osgood that he made up the term TARDIS from the initials, totally and radically driving in space. Osgood also mentioned that she had heard a couple of different versions of what TARDIS stood for. TV, the Zigan inversion. During the War in Heaven, increased materialism on the home world led to the word timeship being a more common name for the capsules. Pros: the Book of the War. The 13th Doctor used the term Gallifreyan timeships interchangeably with TARDISes. Pros: TARDIS tour. Flight. TARDISes usually moved through time and space by disappearing there and reappearing here. TV, ROS, a process known as materialization. This was controlled by a component called the dematerialization circuit. The circuit would only work if the specific model of TARDIS was designed to use the specific model of dematerialization circuit, or it would not work. For example, a Type 40 TARDIS, designed to use a Mark I dematerialization circuit, would not be able to dematerialize if a Mark II dematerialization circuit was used instead. TV. Terror of the Autons. If a TARDIS relativity differentiator was missing or malfunctioning, then a TARDIS could only reappear in a different location in time, and not space. Comic, The Stolen TARDIS. TARDISes could also fly through space like conventional spacecraft, but doing so for prolonged periods could damage the ship, at least in the case of the Doctor's TARDIS. TV, The Runaway Bride. The 10th Doctor claimed that a TARDIS was meant to have 6 pilots. The frequent bouncing in the time vortex and the unpleasant ride being the result of him having to operate the ship single-handedly. TV, Journey's End. During operation, a distinctive grinding and whirring sound, nicknamed the Whoopee by Alice Oberfune, comic, The Then and the Now, was usually heard. TV, An Unearthly Child at al. It sounded like an elephant giving birth. Audio, The Feast of Axos. River Song once demonstrated that the Doctor's TARDIS was capable of materializing silently, teasing the Doctor that the noise was actually caused by him leaving the brakes on. TV, The Time of Angels. However, other newer TARDISes, flown by other pilots such as the Master, TV, Colony in Space, the King's Demons, the Rani, TV, Time and the Rani, and the Monk. TV, the Daleks' Master Plan, made the same sound in the course of their normal operation, as did the Doctors when piloted by other Time Lords. TV, The Claws of Axos, the pirate planet. During the battle for the Tantalus Eye, Cinder noted that the engines of Parthew's TARDIS made a similar noise to the Doctor's own, but that the newer ship gave off a more mechanical, muted growl. Pros: Engines of War. The Mignon's computer recognized the sound as associated with Time Lord ships. TV. Underworld. The Doctor himself also materialized his TARDIS more than once without making the distinctive noise. TV, The Dalek Invasion of Earth, The Impossible Astronaut, The Time of the Doctor. The 11th Doctor explained that this was possible by putting the engines on silent. TV, The Impossible Astronaut. This sound was also made by other devices, SIDITs, a craft similar to TARDISes used by the Warlords. TV, The War Games, a Time Lord who appeared to the 3rd Doctor, without using any visible means of transport, to warn him of the appearance of the Master. TV, Terror of the Autons, when the Time Lords provided the 3rd Doctor with a new dematerialization circuit, it appeared on a table making this sound. TV, The 3 Doctors, and when the Doctor modified Skagra's invisible spaceship to travel like a TARDIS, again, this sound was heard. TV, Shader, Audio, Shader. When a TARDIS materialized, it would sometimes result in a strong wind and small tremors, enough to shake wine glasses, in the area where it appeared. TV, Love and Monsters, Smith and Jones, The 11th Hour, The Lodger, The Big Bang, TV, End of Days. The Fifth Doctor once explained that this was caused by ionization. Particles in the air being shunted around, making space. Audio, The Boy That Time Forgot. The Doctor's TARDIS. Dematerializing, TV, The 11th Hour. The curator explained that when a TARDIS landed, time crystallized around it, fixing events in the web of time. When the Doctor's TARDIS crash-landed in 2020, this went wrong, creating unstable alternate timelines. Audio, crossed lines. If a TARDIS materialized in a space occupied by another object, that object would usually appear inside the TARDIS. TV, Logopolis, TV story, Logopolis, Bad Wolf, The Snowmen. The return of Dr. Mysterio. However, once, the 11th Doctor landed an incomplete TARDIS in his own TARDIS and on top of an UD, causing the UD to be atomized. TV, the Doctor's wife. Conversely, a TARDIS could dematerialize while leaving its occupants behind. TV, Blink. If a TARDIS landed in the same space and time as another TARDIS, TV, the Time Monster, or even if they simply collided while in the vortex, a time ram could occur, destroying both TARDISes, their occupants, and even cause a black hole that would tear a hole in the universe, one the exact size of Belgium. TV, Time Crash. However, time rams could be avoided by materializing inside the other TARDIS. This act itself also had inherent dangers, including space loops. TV, Logopolis, space/time. TARDISes had trouble materializing during time loops. TV, The Lodger, The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, The Pirate Planet, and severe time distortions would make it impossible for a TARDIS to land without a signal to lock onto. TV, The Angels Take Manhattan. A TARDIS was liable to malfunction if it passed by another version of itself during flight. Comic, alternating current. Types. TARDISes were generally referred to using the nomenclature type X, TV, the Pirate Planet it al, or X form. Prose, the Book of the War it al. The earliest known model of TARDIS was the Type 1, which was poorly designed, dangerous to operate, and difficult to start. Some of them had minds of their own, with a history of escaping and roaming the universe. Prose, Heart of TARDIS. There were at least 160 different numbered variants of TARDISes. Audio, Intervention Earth. Professor Chronotis had a Type 12 TARDIS after finding it in a scrapyard. Prose, Shader. The First Doctor had a Type 50 TARDIS, Audio, Prisoners of Fate, before he escaped Gallifrey in an outdated, TV, The Doctor's Wife, Type 40, TV, The Deadly Assassin, The Ribos Operation, it al. Mark III. TV, Let's Kill Hitler. The Monk's TARDIS was a Mark IV, and the First Doctor noted that there had been quite a few changes made compared to his own model. TV, Checkmate. By the time of the Doctor's fourth life, the entire Type 40 line had been retired from use, and were considered to be obsolete. TV, The Deadly Assassin. The Master had a Type 45. Prose, The Dark Path. Antor's TARDIS was a Type 60. Audio, Mission to Magnus. The fifth incarnation of the Doctor once remarked that he should have upgraded to a Type 57 TARDIS when the Type 40 he used had another malfunction. TV, Warriors of the Deep. Romana II informed the Quadrigastoin his job had been rendered obsolete with the introduction of the Type 54 TARDIS. Audio, Luna Romana. On Gallifrey, the Time Lord technician class Davos was working on a Type 58 console shortly after the Doctor had left, and his disappearance was being investigated. Pros: Celestial intervention, a Gallifreyan Noi. On another occasion, the Fifth Doctor noted that a Type 70 would allow him to break through a temporal distortion grid, but that his Type 40 was not cut out for such a brute force approach. Audio, Singularity, Romana 2, Audio, A Blind Eye, The Clocksmith, Audio, The Doomsday Chronometer, and Vansel used Type 70s. Audio, The Sirens of Time. The Type 90 was the first generation engineered for war. Their pilots were regenerated to meld into the machinery. They primarily blocked off time travel routes that could be used for enemy escape during combat. Pros: The Book of the War, Christine Summerfield described them as big brass spheres. Pros: Dead Romance. War TARDISes could map their interior dimensions onto the outer dimensions, appearing deliberately indiscrete. Pros: The Ancestor Cell, The Book of the War. Both Type 91s, Pros: The Brixpear Voyage, and Type 94s were war TARDISes. Pros: The Quantum Archangel. On more than one occasion, the Doctor encountered heavily armed battle TARDISes carrying time torpedoes, developed during their fifth incarnation or earlier. Comic. The Stockbridge Horror, Audio, Neverland. The 11th Doctor once stated that powering a TARDIS would be like falling off a very big log or an n-dimensional log, TV, A Night with Stars. Diplomatic TARDISes were once used by Gallifrey but had become almost obsolete during Susan Foreman's life on the planet. They were brought out from storage for use during the Time War. Audio, Sphere of Influence. After the 8th Doctor attached Compassion vs remote receiver to his TARDIS, Pros: The Blue Angel, the block transfer calculations changed her biodata and she became the first and only Type 102 TARDIS. Pros: The Shadows of Avalon, the Book of the War. Before this, another TARDIS was stated to be a Type 102. Used by Epsilon Delta. Pros: The Dimension Riders. Later, model numbers would become standardized so that Type 102 referred only to Compassion. Pros: The Book of the War. The Time Lords knew that, during the war in their future, they would be using humanoid TARDIS. Pros: The Shadows of Avalon, Alien Bodies, Lady President. Romana 3 sent Celestial Intervention Agency operatives in Type 98 TARDISes to capture Compassion, but she escaped. Pros: The Shadows of Avalon. The 2nd Doctor was briefly assigned a Type 97 while working for Celestial Intervention Agency. Pros: World Game. While Compassion still evaded them, the Great Houses began the 101 Form project to engineer humanoid timeships without Compassion's help. They tried to upgrade an old TARDIS, but she went mad and escaped. Pros: Toy Story, the Book of the War, of the City of the Saved. They also tried to pull one of Compassion's future children, Antipathy, backwards through time into their control. However, neither project succeeded. Pros: Of the City of the Saved. Eventually, Compassion made a deal with the Walking and agreed to mother the humanoid 103 form. Pros: The Book of the War, or Type 103 TARDISes. The 8th Doctor met a Type 103 named Marie during the auction for the relic. Pros: Alien Bodies. During the last Great Time War, Romana 2 and Narvin were both forced by Mantis to flee in a damaged old, reconditioned TARDIS. Narvin was unsure if it was a Type 50 or a Type 55 TARDIS. Audio, Assassins. Features and functions. Dimensionally transcendental. Main article, dimensionally transcendental. One of the key features of a TARDIS was that the interior existed in a dimension different from the exterior. The main application of this concept was that many were bigger on the inside than the outside. TV, an unearthly child it al. Not all were, however. Audio, weapon of choice. This feature required use of dimensional dams, which, upon the death of a TARDIS, would leak through. One such effect of this was the TARDIS exterior growing to a gargantuan size. According to the 11th Doctor, this was called a size leak. TV, the name of the Doctor. The 4th Doctor once tried to explain the phenomenon to Leela by using two boxes, one smaller than the other. He placed the larger one further away, so it appeared as if it could fit within the small box. He then explained that if the big box could be accessed where it was from the small box would be bigger on the inside. However, Leela dismissed this as silly. TV, the robots of death. Nardole later used a similar analogy to Bill Potts, stating she'd have to imagine a very big box fitting inside a very small box, before adding, she'd have to make one, and that it's the second part people have trouble with. TV, the pilot. Chameleon circuit. Main article, chameleon circuit. One feature of TARDISes was their ability to blend into their surroundings once they landed. If working properly, a chameleon circuit could assess the surroundings of a time and place just before arrival and change the exterior to resemble something common to that landscape. TV, an unearthly child, Rose, Boomtown. On the one occasion that the Doctor temporarily got the chameleon circuit on his own TARDIS working again after leaving London in 1963, its selected forms very incongruous to its surroundings. TV, Attack of the Cybermen. However, were the mechanism functioning correctly, it would have also been programmable from a keyboard on the TARDIS main console. The Doctor once demonstrated to Adric how he would change the TARDIS into a pyramid, if the chameleon circuit were functioning properly. TV, Logopolis. The Master was able to produce an architectural column in sometimes incongruous environments like the Pharos Project or Heathrow Airport. TV, Logopolis. Castrovulva, Time Flight, and the monk stated that he chose to make his TARDIS look like a Saxon sarcophagus. TV, Checkmate. The Doctor once entered the monk's TARDIS and changed its appearance from a pillar of stone to a police box identical to his own TARDIS. TV, the Daleks' master plan. Later, on a trip to Halcyon when his TARDIS took on the shape of a Punch and Judy tent, the monk told Tamsin Drew he could have arranged for the chameleon circuit to take the form of a tree, but since they'd materialized in a forest they would never be able to find it. Audio, the resurrection of Mars. When on Gallifrey, and presumably not using the chameleon circuit, some TARDISes resembled a plain rectangular cabinet with an outward sliding door on the front, a form also used by SIDIATs. TV, the War Games. When the Doctor stole his Type 40 TARDIS from the repair shop, it and others nearby resembled stone cylindrical structures with sideways sliding doors. TV, the name of the Doctor. The residents' TARDISes on Nesteria during the last Great Time War all resembled silver tubes. Audio, Deception. The TARDIS that the 12th Doctor and Clara Oswald stole from the same workshop had the same exterior design as the others. This TARDIS also had a broken chameleon circuit, as stated by a child leaving it stuck in the form of an American diner after landing on Earth in Nevada. TV, Hellbent. The Type 30 was the very first TARDIS to have a chameleon circuit. Pros, the Scrolls of Rassilon. Regeneration. Much like their pilots the Time Lords, TARDISes had the ability to regenerate if badly damaged, emerging healed and with a somewhat different appearance, both outer and inner. While it regenerated, a TARDIS would emit an easily traceable, highly characteristic Artron energy signal. Comic, Doorway to Hell, the ability to repair itself completely, returning to its thief with an altered outer plasmic shell and a changed desktop theme, as well as some new functionalities on the control console, was displayed on several occasions by the Doctor's TARDIS, TV, the 11th Hour, the Ghost Monument, and on at least 3 occasions, the Golden Energy making up. The heart of the TARDIS was observed to appear as a golden shimmer identical to regeneration energy. TV, Doctor Who, The Parting of the Ways, the Doctor's Wife. Even demonstrating a resurrecting power on humanoids on one of those occasions. TV, Doctor Who. After being shot down by a fleet of warp cruisers, the Decayed Master's own TARDIS also regenerated. The process took weeks, during which the Master was unable to enter his ship, let alone use it, much to his frustration. Audio, and You Will Obey Me. TARDISes could also be reset to clear up minor problems, which would render them inaccessible for a period of time. The 13th Doctor reset her TARDIS to clear up debris left over from its exposure to the flux. TV, Eve of the Daleks. Security features. Before a TARDIS was fully functional, it needed to be primed with the symbiotic nuclei of a Time Lord's cells to create a molecular stabilization system to protect a TARDIS occupants against destabilization. Once it was properly primed, it could be used safely by any species. TV, The Two Doctors. If a TARDIS were to be used by anyone other than its owner and his familiars, it would assault their minds, which may lead to memory loss. Pros, Echoes of Future. Past. When the TARDIS needed more power to take off, a series of circuits known as architectural configuration enabled rooms to be jettisoned to provide this power. This feature was used to escape both the gravity bubble and Event 1, TV, Logopolis, Castrovolva, and to provide the extra power required to both leave the universe and re-enter it. TV, The Doctor's Wife. When the TARDIS was under attack from physical objects, the pilot could activate siege mode. This turned the exterior into a cube etched with Gallifreyan writing and sealed the entrance. TV, Flatline. Every TARDIS was equipped with a spare empty dimension, a conduit to which could be opened to imprison someone in with a button in the control room, as the 4th Doctor did to the Malevolous Magog. Comic, Doctor Who and the Iron Legion. A TARDIS had the ability to trap intruders by ensnaring them in a space loop and sealing its doors. The Doctor's TARDIS did this to Gregor van Bullen, Tricky van Bullen, and the 11th Doctor after the former stole an orb from its architectural reconfiguration system. TV, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, the 12th Doctor told Journey Blue that she would starve to death looking for the light switch if she shot him and attempted to commandeer the TARDIS. TV, Into the Dalek. Computer interfaces. TARDIS computer interfaces included the TARDIS seen from the outside in. TV, School. Reunion. An index file provided text-based research into all manner of subjects relevant to TARDIS pilots and crew. This was accessible to Nyssa and Tegan. TV. Castrovulva. A voice interface could be requested for a variety of purposes. The TARDIS was able to communicate with its occupants using a holographic avatar, based on the Brigadier, and also created reenactments of events from history, with characters based on the previous Doctors and their companions. Audio: Zagreus. The 11th Doctor once got medical analysis and limited psychological counseling from this interface. TV: Let's Kill Hitler. A device compatible with 21st Century Earth DVDs was capable of reading and executing automated piloting instructions for a TARDIS. TV: Blink. It also could burn software to CD/DVD media for use on Earth computers. TV: World War III. Psychic circuits kept a TARDIS linked to its crew when they left its interior, providing translation from alien languages and perhaps other features, so long as its attending Time Lord was in good health. TV: The End of the World, The Christmas Invasion, it.al. Specific TARDISes. The Doctor's TARDIS. Main article: The Doctor's TARDIS. The first Doctor stole his TARDIS. TV: The War Games. At the time he had borrowed it, it was on Gallifrey for repairs. TV: Logopolis, the name of the Doctor. However, the TARDIS itself, temporarily in the human body of Idris, said that it had planned for him to steal it. It had left its doors unlocked so that he could walk in. It considered itself to have stolen the Doctor as much as the Doctor thought he had stolen their TARDIS. TV: The Doctor's Wife. By the time of their fourth incarnation, all Type 40s had been decommissioned, save his. TV: The Deadly Assassin. Following the events of the last Great Time War, it was the last TARDIS in existence. TV: Rise of the Cyberman, the Doctor's Wife. According to the moment, the sound of the TARDIS materializing was enough to bring hope to anyone who heard it, no matter how lost they were. TV: The Day of the Doctor. Possessed by other renegades. The Master. Main article: The Master's TARDIS. The Master owned multiple TARDISes. TV: The Keeper of Trichon. The Master's first known TARDIS crash-landed on destination on its first journey, stranding him. Audio: The destination was, though he later repaired it. Audio: The Home Guard. This ship had a Mark II dematerialization circuit which was incompatible with the Doctor's TARDIS, though the third Doctor stole it regardless. TV: Terror of the Autons. This left the TARDIS stranded on Earth until the Master reclaimed the circuit. TV: The Mind of Evil. According to one account, this TARDIS was taken by Susan Foreman, abandoning the Master on Terzaurus. Prose: Legacy of the Daleks, though he later used it during the last Great Time War. Comic: Running to Stay Still. The Master later stole the TARDIS that had belonged to Chancellor Goth. Audio: Dominion, which he used in multiple incarnations, often keeping its external appearance in the form of a grandfather clock. TV: The Deadly Assassin, the Keeper of Trichon. Audio: Mastermind. When the Master used it during the Time War, the ship became traumatized and gained full sentience. Audio: The Broken Clock. After the war, Master sent it away whilst he used a chameleon arch to hide at the end of the universe. Audio: The Heavenly Paradigm. The ship ended up in New York where it recruited a series of humans to pilot it until Missy recovered it. Audio: The Broken Clock. At some point the Master came into possession of another TARDIS which was one of the most advanced models existing on Gallifrey at the time. Prose: CIA file. Extracts: which was capable of walking whilst in a humanoid form. This TARDIS was destroyed in his failed scheme to seize the Source. TV, the Keeper of Trichon. The Saxon master owned a TARDIS following his mutual kicking out from Gallifrey after the Time War. He burnt out its dematerialization circuit trying to escape the Mundicium colony ship near a black hole, requiring his future self to supply a replacement. TV, the Doctor Falls. Missy changed this TARDIS power source from Gallifrey's Eye of Harmony to an entrapped, experimental time-sensitive creature after the Time Lords had exploited its link to the Eye to force her to do their bidding. Pros, Lords and Masters. Missy recovered the Master TARDIS and fed one of her old TARDISes into its Eye of Harmony to power it. Audio, the Belly of the Beast. Other renegades. The monk owned a TARDIS that was more advanced than the Doctor's, which he used for his exploits across history. During their first encounter, the Doctor stole the ship's dimensional control, TV, the Time Meddler, which began a trend of people stealing from the monk's TARDIS, much to the nun's frustration. Audio, the Wrong Woman. Whilst in ancient Egypt, the Doctor stole its directional unit and turned it into a police box identical to his ship to distract the Daleks. TV, the Daleks' master plan, and Tamsin Drew later foiled the monk's attempt to replace the stolen unit. Audio, the Book of Kells. Missy also stole a component from the TARDIS whilst it was stuck in Tudor England after the monk had deliberately sabotaged it to hide from the Time War. Audio, divorced, beheaded, regenerated. Missy subsequently modified the ship's security so it would only work with both her and the monk aboard, having been unable to remove the security and steal the ship as she'd initially hoped. Audio, Too Many Masters. George Sheldrake later stole the ship's temporal velociter, which he used for his time tunnels until the nun reclaimed it. Audio, the Wrong Woman. The first Rani owned a TARDIS. At one point the Sixth Doctor sabotaged the console, making the ship impossible to control after she and the Tremus Master dematerialized it, accelerating it beyond Earth and causing a time spillage which made the dinosaur embryos she'd displayed in the control room grow and mature rapidly. TV, the Mark of the Rani. The Master escaped by jettisoning the ship's console room with him aboard, forcing the Rani to cannibalize other components to control her TARDIS at all and recruit a matter-duplicating entity maker. New console. Pros, State of Change. Drax traveled in a TARDIS which he had bought second-hand legally, unlike most other renegade Time Lords who had stolen theirs. Pros. Doctor Who and the Armageddon Factor. While not technically a renegade, Sulyavin, aka Professor Chronotis, possessed a Type 12 TARDIS, with its controls appearing as simple panels hidden in an old book cupboard type cabinet, and its control room desktop set as a university professor's library and study. His main TARDIS disguise was that of his quarters at Cambridge University. As an older Time Lord who was retired on Gallifrey, Chronotis was not allowed to possess a TARDIS. Pros, Shader. The Doctor's TARDIS, TV, an unearthly child. The Rani's TARDIS on the planet Lakatia. TV, Time and the Rani. Epsilon Delta had stolen a Type 102 TARDIS. He found the chameleon circuit and the voice print lock the best features of the time machine. Pros, the Dimension Riders. Iris. While Time's celestial omnibus was sometimes identified as a TARDIS. Pros, Old Flames, Suitors, Inc. Irving Braxiatel owned a TARDIS, which he disguised as his office at the Braxiatel Collection. The Daleks sponsored the Fifth Axis occupation in an attempt to seize the ship for themselves. Audio, Death and the Daleks. After Braxiatel fled into the Beyond to escape the Time War, Romana took possession of his TARDIS to return to the universe. Audio, Beyond, though was immediately captured by the Daleks. She and Leela later escaped the Daleks in it, but the ship was diverted to Gallifrey by Rassilon. Audio, Homecoming. The 11 stole a TARDIS when he escaped custody on Gallifrey. Audio, The 11, he later seized a battle TARDIS with Helen Sinclair as a hostage. With guidance from the Sinomancer, Helen foiled the Doom Coalition's plan by flying this ship into the resonance engine, flinging it into the vortex. Audio, Stop the Clock, until it crashed on Rickerton. Audio, World of Damnation. The Clocksmith owned Type 70 TARDIS which he used in his work for the Doom Coalition. Audio, The Eighth Piece. After his death the Eighth Doctor and River Song stole the TARDIS. Audio, The Doomsday Chronometer, using it to reach the Crucible of Souls. Audio, The Crucible of Souls. There it was stolen again by the Nine, who used it to retrieve River Song from the time vortex and in his subsequent scheme to collect the Doctor's companions. After his prisoners rose up against him, River took possession of this TARDIS again. Audio, Companion Piece. Ares took a TARDIS when he fled Gallifrey during the Time War. Audio, Collateral. Romana and Narvin were sent into exile in an old TARDIS. Audio, Assassins. Ace modified a TARDIS whilst living on Gallifrey, resulting in its exterior becoming stuck in form of a pinball machine. During the Time War, the exiled Narvin discovered the ship was intended to be scrapped and retrieved it, using it in his missions for the resistance against Rassilon. Audio, The First Days of Phaidon. Ashild and Clara Oswald's TARDIS. Main article, Clara's TARDIS. Stolen by the 12th Doctor from the old workshops on Gallifrey, the Doctor and Clara Oswald described the interior of this TARDIS as basic and all white. The control room resembled that of the Doctor's TARDIS during his early travels with it. It had a console, scanner screen, panels with Time Lord writing and inner doors. The Doctor used this TARDIS to visit the final moments of the universe, encountering Ashild there. This TARDIS was, after the 12th Doctor erased his memory of Clara Oswald, piloted by Clara and Ashild. They used it to return to Earth to retrieve the Doctor's TARDIS and then moved it to Nevada. They were unable to get the chameleon circuit working, leaving it stuck in the form of an American diner. After dropping the Doctor off, Clara declared that she would return to Gallifrey the long way around, using the TARDIS to have some more adventures of their own. TV, Hellbent. Unique TARDISes. Some time before the War in Heaven, Lolita was modified by her owner so she could become humanoid. Prose, Toy Story. She later formed her own great house, Prose, the Book of the War, and became War Queen of the Home World. Audio, Words from 9 Divinities, as well as President of the United States, Prose, Head of State, and Queen of England. Audio, In the Year of the Cat. Compassion, a former member of the Remote, evolved into a TARDIS, the prototype of the sentient Type 102, the only one of that type. The first generation of mass-produced sentient TARDISes was the Type 103. Prose, The Shadows of Avalon. Idris and the 11th Doctor also built a junk TARDIS out of dead TARDIS parts from the Bubble Universe's junkyard. TV, The Doctor's Wife. Other types of TARDISes. A Type 98 TARDIS had a holographic scanner. Pros: The Shadows of Avalon. After learning the truth of the timeless child, the 13th Doctor used a TARDIS that still existed on Gallifrey to send her friends and the other human survivors to the 21st century while she confronted the Spy Master. She then used another TARDIS to escape the planet while K.O. Sharmas used the death particle to destroy the Cyber Masters and the Master. Both TARDISes had fully functional chameleon circuits, with the first disguising itself as a house when landing in the 21st century, and the second disguising itself as a tree when the Doctor found her own TARDIS. TV, The Timeless Children. TARDISes without their owners. TARDISes often grew very attached to their owners, having developed a symbiotic link to their operator. Whereas most TARDISes would spend millennia grieving their lost pilot, some TARDISes chose not to remain where their operator had died and instead threw themselves into the time vortex, never to be seen again. It was rumored that somewhere at the end of the universe there existed an elephant's graveyard of broken TARDISes that had done so. The Doctor intended to, one day, see if the rumors were true. Audio, Omega. The Maldovarium was located on an old TARDIS in the form of an asteroid. The ship was recovered by Jenny, who realized the ship wanted solitude and decided to leave it adrift in deep space so it would be left in peace. Audio, inside the Maldovarium. A dying TARDIS ended up on Earth after surviving the Time War, taking the form of Foude's house. It was cared for by the 9th Doctor with the aid of Mandy Litherland. Audio, Auld Lang Syne. Copies of TARDIS technology. During the Doctor's second incarnation, the renegade Time Lord known as the War Chief provided similar time ships called SIDITs to the warlords to further their plans of conquest. When they learned of this, the Time Lords placed a force field around the warlord homeworld. TV, The War Games. The 4th Doctor instructed Skagra's creation the ship on how to alter her own circuitry so she could die and rematerialize like a TARDIS. TV, Shader. When the Skith probed the Doctor's mind, they gained knowledge of the TARDIS and made their own version, the Skardis. Comic, The Age of Ice. When the Daleks achieved time travel, they made a version of the TARDIS, the Dalek Time Machine. TV, The Chase. Clara Oswald's TARDIS. Disguised as a snacks and gas diner. TV, Hellbent. The Junk TARDIS. TV, The Doctor's Wife. The Daleks built a fleet of TARDISes identical to the Doctor's TARDIS. Comic, Return of the Daleks. When Bantos Aim and Sally Ann Stubbins were running their conning operation, they used a device called a Stardis, which was a teleport device housed inside a portalu. Audio, The One Doctor. The cult of Skaro utilized the Genesis Ark, a Time Lord prison ship reserved for Daleks that could carry millions at a time. TV, Doomsday. An alternate reality UNIT, under the command of Rose Tyler, used technology taken from the Doctor's dying TARDIS to create a time machine to send the alternate Donna Noble back in time to correct history. TV, Turn Left. 79B Aikman Road was a copy of TARDIS technology. TV, The Lodger. The 11th Doctor later encountered a ship of identical design belonging to the Silence. TV, Day of the Moon. After Raymond Salamander had been stranded in the 1960s, he rebuilt his fortune so he could construct a TARDIS of his own, succeeding in creating a dangerously unstable space-time vessel. Comic, The Heralds of Destruction. Behind the Scenes. Is it TARDIS or TARDIS? Is TARDIS somehow more correct than TARDIS? It's an open question, really. Here's what can be safely said. The acronym was introduced into written English as TARDIS. The earliest Doctor Who publications, like 1960's Doctor Who annuals, consistently styled it as the ordinary word TARDIS, capitalizing the T and often italicizing the word in deference to the fact that it was a ship name. As David J. Howe and friends once noted in a behind-the-scenes exploration of an unearthly child. This explains why world distributors' Doctor Who annuals often styled the name TARDIS, not TARDIS, TARDIS or even the TARDIS. Common sentences in early 1960s annuals ran along the lines of, "The Doctor made his way back to TARDIS, where Ben and Polly were waiting for him." World eventually stopped italicizing TARDIS, but they used TARDIS throughout their stewardship of the Doctor Who annuals, with the form being used as late as their final edition in 1986. Similarly, Radio Times listings have always treated the acronym like a regular word. Even in the 21st century, TARDIS is the form found in dictionaries, such as the Oxford American Dictionary. Like laser and sonar, then, TARDIS is what some linguists call an acronym. Since most of the general public doesn't know that it is an acronym, its heritage as an acronym is viewed as anachronistic, and therefore forgotten. Different styles for different times. That said, a few generalizations can be noted. Throughout most of the classic run, at least prior to John Nathan Turner, the preferred form was TARDIS. Thus, in Target novelizations, annuals, and other printed material that was actually contemporaneous with the original version of Doctor Who, TARDIS is the form of choice. This began to change somewhat in the 1980s. Once Doctor Who became a print-only franchise in the 1990s, however, TARDIS became standardized by Virgin Books. BBC Wales continued with the Virgin/BBC Books style. Publications like the Doctor Who Storybook, New Series Adventures, Quick Reads, The Darksmith Legacy and the like are all fairly unanimous in their use of TARDIS. Nevertheless, despite the increased use of TARDIS in prose fiction, there still is no firm preference expressed by narratives in visual media like television episodes and comic stories. Where the word has appeared, it has done so along other words exclusively set in the uppercase. For instance, in the plaque installed on the 11th Doctor's TARDIS set, all the words are in uppercase, so nothing can be inferred about the proper way to capitalize the acronym. Equally, in Let's Kill Hitler, the word appears on a screen where all other text is in uppercase. Comic depictions have also been lettered in all uppercase, as is standard for the medium. In popular culture, in terms of general cultural references, TARDIS is still in heavy use, as is evidenced by article titles like XDM.45 ACP3.8 Compact is the TARDIS of handguns and BBC America's Where's the TARDIS competition. It also seems to be BBC News House style to go for the sentence case version, TARDIS to tackle antisocial behaviour in Brighton and TARDIS Tennis, a game made by BBC Sport. Moreover, most articles supplied by BBC News about Doctor Who, as opposed to those written for the Doctor Who official website, tend to use TARDIS throughout the body of the text, as with this coverage of the 2012 official Doctor Who convention. Equally, it has always been the house style of the Radio Times to use this form, as can be evidenced by exploring the RT website, as well as past RT clippings included on classic-era DVDs. Use on this wiki. On this wiki, TARDIS refers to the time travel device used by Time Lords, whereas TARDIS means the wiki itself. Translating the TARDIS. As Bill Potts mentions, the TARDIS acronym surely would only work in English. With that in mind, some official translations of Doctor Who, such as the French version, have tried to make their own acronyms to replace the English. In French, TARDIS is made up from temps relativite dimensionnel interspatial. Other acronyms, such as the hot air balloon TARDIS from the Next Doctor, have also been given a translation, such as Transport aérien révolutionnaire développé avec infiniment de style. Other series, such as the Russian series, simply transliterate the word TARDIS, and do not attempt to retranslate any of the meaning. The German version originally ignored the translation issue until finally offering the acronym TRIPS auf Grund relativer Dimensionen im Sternenzelt in the German translation of the 1996 movie, and picked up later in their release of An Unearthly Child, or Das Kind von den Sternen in 2018. External links. Timeship at the Faction Paradox Wiki. The TARDIS Technical Index, a massive resource, documenting the TARDIS features from the series, novels, and audios. TARDIS was originally intended to be the name of the Doctor's ship, in the same way that one might name a sailing boat, rather than purely a descriptive acronym. The Television Companion. Explore properties. Fandom. Mutheed. Fanatical. Follow US. Overview. Recent images. Popular pages. SHOW, VE. SHOW, VE. MOREABOUTTARDISRDFFEED. TARDIS at Memory Beta, the wiki that covers all licensed Star Trek works. TARDISES. GALLIFREYANLIFE. Categories. Languages. Community content is available under CC BY-SA unless otherwise noted. More fandoms. Fantasy, horror, sci-fi, Doctor Who. Facts. FIRSTAPPERANCEANUNEARTHLYCHILD, TVSTORY, plus. HASIMAGEFILE, ROWOFTARDISES. JPG Plus. James Corrigan. 18 hours ago. Mark Hawkins. 19 hours ago. List of future releases. 3 days ago. Weeping Angel. Sutek. List of Doctor Who television stories. The Toymaker. The Doctor. What is fandom? About. Careers. Press. Contact. Terms of use. Privacy policy. Digital Services Act. Global Sitemap. Local Sitemap. Community. Community Central. Support. Help. Advertise. Media Kit. Contact. Fandom apps. Take your favorite fandoms with you and never miss a beat. TARDIS is a fandom TV community. View mobile site. TARDIS. New to Doctor Who or returning after a break? Check out. Follow on IG, TikTok, join Fan Lab.